Hi everyone, welcome to WIM. I'm Sarah and today I'm going to talk to you about how to swap out those refined carbohydrates in your diet for healthier options. So let's dive in and get to the point really quickly. So the most obvious place to start is sugar. Easy swaps for sugar are, think fresh fruit, dates and honey. One of my favorites here in my house is honey because it's just so simple to use and easy to find. I regularly make a cake, for example, completely remove the sugar element and just pop in either a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of honey, and it adds a perfect level of sweetness. I also regularly use mashed down bananas because they are super sweet when they're overripe, so can completely replace sugar within a recipe. But also because it's a fruit and you've mashed it down and it's fresh, it's got a level of moisture that just adds to the cake. So brilliant again. Another option is pureed apples. So just cut up your apples, pop them into a pan, add a tiny bit of water and just let them cook down slowly, allowing their natural sugars to come out. You really don't need to add any other sugar to that pan. And particularly if you're using kind of a red apple or a sweet apple or a gala apple perhaps, you'll get more sweetness out of that over a Granny Smith, for example. So they're great options. Dates, like I said, another option perhaps. For example, I regularly make nut milks at home, and obviously nut milk in relation to normal milk is very different because normal milk has a taste, quite a sweet taste, because it's got lots of lactose in. And sometimes when you replace milk for your nut milk, it's like, oh, I'm missing this sweetness. You can pop a tiny date into your mixture, blend it up, and it just gives that kind of underlying sweetness that you need. Dates are a great option for baking too. For example, think sticky toffee pudding. The kind of base of that pudding is dates. They add this really toffee, delicious sweetness to the cake. All you need to do is blend them in some hot water or cook them down slightly in some water, blend it into a paste, and then you can use it really easily. So there's kind of some simple swaps for sugar. Perhaps this happens to me quite regularly if I make tomato sauce at home, maybe for a sauce or something like that. Sometimes, depending on the quality of your tomatoes, your sauce might be quite acidic, especially if you're using tinned tomatoes or bottled tomatoes. The way to kind of remove that acidity is just add a teaspoon of honey, for example. There's another easy swap. Or if you're making a curry and you just think, I need a little bit of sweetness, perhaps it's a bit spicy or a bit salty, you can add a teaspoon of honey there too. So again, easy swap. So we talked about cake, a lot of cake. Obviously with cake you have the issue of white refined flour, and sometimes replacing that can be quite difficult. Well, there's some easy ways to do it. The most easiest and simplest way is almond flour, because you can buy it ready and you can just open it like a normal packet of flour and replace like for like. It's simple to use. It gives you a really nice light bake. It doesn't have a strong flavour either. So again, if you're making, for example, a Victoria sponge cake and you think, gosh, I don't want it to taste not spongy, or vanilla-y, almond flour is a great option. However, can be cost prohibitive sometimes, and sometimes depending on kind of the climate in the year, almonds can be not that easy to find. Particularly here in Argentina, sometimes you can get them and sometimes you can't, and buying almond flour is like searching for gold sometimes. So I've been experimenting recently with seed flours that I've just been making at home, and they have been working out fantastically, to the point where I think I probably won't make cakes with almond flour in the future. Just the other day, I made a chocolate cake and I made it with all seed flours. So I did equal parts sunflower seeds, linseeds, also known as flax, sesame seeds. I did, what else did I do? Desiccated coconut. I did maca powder. Maca is a root from Peru. It's really great for energy. And I also did cacao powder. So I did equal parts to each one of those. So I did 4 tablespoons of each, popped it into my high speed blender, and I blended it into a kind of fine flour. And I literally just made my cake as normal with that. I did my butter, my eggs. I did 2 tablespoons of honey, so not a lot of sweetness. My flour, a little bit of gluten-free baking powder, and it worked out fantastically. So trust me, it's a really great option. And obviously, like I said to you before, when you're using bananas in cake, you can really make lovely, sweet, delicious, comforting cakes, all with healthy options, and you don't need to feel that you're missing out. You can't talk about carbohydrates really without talking about breakfast items. Traditionally, if you think around the world, most people have toast or cereal or croissant or, you know, those baked goods full of refined carbohydrates. So there's some easy things you can do. Obviously, some simple swaps would be to have full fat natural yogurt. Obviously, when you buy yogurt, be careful, look at the labels. Often there's quite hidden sugars, or you might look at the label and think, oh, this is really healthy, but then when you look at, you know, the back bit, it's got sugar or glucose syrup, or, you know, some hidden things like that in there. So you do need to be careful. Look for natural yogurt, or a coconut yogurt or a kefir yogurt. Again, just be careful on the sugar side. If you want to add sweetness to it, just use fresh berries. Berries are naturally low in sugar anyway. So that's a really easy, nice option. I personally like to make chia seed pudding. So in a glass about so big, I add 3 large heaped tablespoons of chia seeds, and then I fill it up with the milk of my choice. So it could be coconut, it could be almond, it could be whatever you have. Mix for about 2 minutes, and what happens is those seeds expand, so it becomes almost like a gel yogurt type texture. And then I just add in frozen berries or fresh berries, sprinkling of seeds or nuts. Actually, what I do make quite regularly, which is another great carbohydrate swap, is granola. When you buy granola in the shop, it's usually, I hate to say it, really unhealthy. It's painted as a healthy option, but it really isn't. Sometimes the first ingredient on that list, on that ingredient list, is sugar or glucose syrup or high fructose corn syrup. You don't want any of those, and it's really easy to make at home. So I just do, for example, I do coconut oil, I do honey, warm those up so they mold together, add in lots of seeds and my nuts of choice. Sometimes I throw in a handful of jumbo gluten-free oats. Mix, add some coconut in, you know, the pieces, gosh, I'm going to tell you the word in Spanish, but that's not very helpful. Escamas in Spanish. Well, we'll just say pieces of coconut. Pop that in there, and then I pop it in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes to go toasty brown, and it's ready. And I'll regularly have that on my chia seed pudding or on a natural yogurt, which is really delicious. Obviously, when it comes to breakfast, and I'm British, you can't talk about breakfast without talking about eggs. Eggs are a great low carb option. You've got scrambled, poached, boiled, omelettes, you name it. Quite often, which I made just the other day actually, which is really helpful if you're kind of on the go, or, you know, you don't really have time to sit down and have breakfast, or perhaps you want to give your children a healthier option. I make egg muffins. So I just filled my muffin cases with wilted spinach, mushrooms, and then I just poured beaten egg with salt and pepper over, baked them in the oven, and I've just got little mini muffins that I can just pop out and have. They're actually great for a snack as well. So, you know, when you think, oh, I need to eat something, but you don't want to eat anything unhealthy, they're a great option too. Obviously, when it comes to carbohydrates, the natural choice to think of is pasta and rice. I, as a child, loved pasta. Loved pasta. But I think what I love about pasta is the sauce, not necessarily the actual pasta. So I didn't want to kind of miss out on having those really delicious sauces. So I regularly replaced normal pasta with spiralized sweet potato or spiralized courgettes. So they make just lovely long thin pieces of pasta. And what's great about it, you pop them in hot water for 2 to 3 minutes and they're ready, and then you add your sauce just as you normally would, which is a really great option. Lasagna sheets, I will replace those with thinly sliced butternut squash or thinly sliced aubergines or courgettes. Again, really easy options, and you really don't notice the difference. It's super easy. Rice I replaced with cauliflower rice. On just the other day when I had the chocolate cake, it was my father-in-law's birthday. I made a risotto. So I made a wild mushroom risotto. I was thinking about immune foods and what could I eat. So I wanted to have lots of mushrooms because they're really good for you. And I literally blended down 3 big cauliflower heads using my food processor into small pieces that look like rice, and made my risotto as normal. So I had white wine, I had homemade chicken stock, I had garlic, I had onions and leeks. Cooked it as normal, added a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and it was, honest to God, it was beautiful. It was still rich, it was still creamy. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. And even the family that was eating with me loved it. And they said, oh, we know it's not rice, but what is it? It's really nice. So you don't even notice the difference. Another simple swaps, if you like tacos or bread wraps. I haven't had a bread wrap for years, mainly because it's so easy to replace. You've got really lovely lettuce leaves that just act as cups, or you can use a cabbage leaf, instead. If you're making lovely tacos, just use a lovely lettuce leaf, pop in your bits, eat it. Another really great option that I like to use, which is really good for your health, is nori sheets. It's those green sheets that you make sushi with. The only problem with nori sheets is if you make your wrap and roll it up and try and bite it, it's quite hard to bite into. You need to have really sharp gnashers to get through it. So there's 2 options. You can toast your nori sheet on top of your kitchen hob, so it's toasted, and then do your wrap. Or what I tend to do is I toast it, do my wrap, and using a really sharp knife, cut through so you've got bite-sized pieces. So you just eat the bite-sized pieces. Otherwise, what happens is you bite into the wrap. You try to take out take a bite, but you actually take out the filling and leave the nori sheet behind. So it's a bit annoying. So that's another really good option. So I'm going to stop there. This was a whistle-stop tour on how to swap out some of the common refined carbohydrates. If you'd like more hands-on food and dietary advice for weight loss, personalised to you, then just get in touch. Thanks for listening, and see you again soon.